I'm not showing up on the...
Showing up.
All right. We are live here with CGT's own very Professor Chris Rogers.
Howdy. How's it going?
I would say give a round of applause, but seeing as we wouldn't know either way,
We wouldn't.
I'm just going to assume that you all are pumped and excited to be here with Chris Rogers. I know I am. So, Chris, to start off, could you go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself for all our new CGT viewers out there? A little bit about you.
Yes. So I am not from Indiana. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, actually between Cleveland and Akron. I've been making videos and animations and all kinds of stuff since I was a kid. Did my undergrad at Bowling Green State in Northwest Ohio, not in Kentucky. I did it in visual communications technology, and then I went to grad school there in their master's degree program, and then started teaching there. I ran their video production track for about 7 years while I was working on a PhD at the University of Toledo. So I arrived here about 7 years ago. And so in that time, I've been teaching. I teach mostly video production. I teach motion design. I co-teach themed attraction design courses. I do a lot of freelance, mostly in video production more than anything else. Some web, a little bit of animation. Yeah. So whatever comes my way and I have time for. So
All right, thank you for that.
yeah.
To kind of like start off the interview, we're going to have an icebreaker round. So these are going to be some more fun oriented questions to kind of like just get to know you a little better. So to start off, would you rather spend the rest of your life with a sailboat as your home or an RV as your home, and why?
A sailboat or an RV?
Yes.
RV, definitely.
Why is that?
Why? Because I love to travel. I'm a foodie at heart. I love to cook. I love really good food. I love to try new things. I like local places, and so I would love an RV to be able to travel around and see different things. And so, also, I think the percentage of death is lower in an RV than it would be to have a boat capsize. I don't know. I have nothing to back that up, but I'm just guessing.
That is true. RV would be my pick as well because you have more freedom and more travel time. I mean, a sailboat's nice, but I would
Yeah,
probably crash it.
yeah, yeah. It would take forever to get anywhere, and I'd have to find my own food. Yeah, yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
you
wouldn't work out.
fish. Teach a man how to fish and, fish
Right,
yourself.
right. I've never been a great fisherman. I could do it, but
Okay, so pegged you as an RV guy. Now, would you rather have a completely automated home or a self-driving car? So in this case, it could be a self-driving RV. So while you're eating and enjoying all these foodie spots, you don't even have to drive.
yeah, I would do self-driving RV hands down. Because, like, I mean, yeah, an automated home's great. Like, there's a lot of features there. Like, if I really am that lazy that like I walk in a room and everything happens for me, okay. But I'm just not that way, and so with an RV, if it's automated, I can use that time to be doing other things.
I feel like an automated car would definitely be more beneficial, assuming that it is 100% foolproof. I don't think I would trust it in the early stages.
Right? Like some people have trusted Tesla, right? And have fallen asleep. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
breaking away from the car related questions, and we're gonna have one more would you rather to get down to this. Would you rather be forced to dance every time you heard music or be forced to sing along to any song you heard?
um, probably sing. I know I'm not a great singer. I'm a terrible dancer, but I'm probably a better singer than I am a dancer. So,
Any
yeah.
song you heard, you would have to start singing along to.
Oh, yeah. No, I could do that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I could do that.
There's some pretty explicit songs they're playing on the radios nowadays. I know you're
But
I know
I know the lyrics. Would I
Yes,
know?
yes.
Okay.
This is, I don't know, it's magic. You just automatically start singing along to
Oh,
all the
all right.
lyrics. I think you'd have to.
There's the flaw. I know the lyrics. That means I'm a really good lyricist, or So does that mean if a song comes on and I chose dancing, I would automatically know a bunch of different dance moves?
That is a very good point. One that the website where we got this question does not go into. I would assume,
On.
okay, if you know all the lyrics, I would say if the song has a dance routine, you would know the dance routine.
Okay, I would go for dancing then.
So if like Gangnam Style came on, you would know that
Yeah,
dance routine
yeah.
down completely. If not,
Because
you'd have to freestyle.
yeah, yeah. I would choose dancing then, because if the talent came with it, then yeah, I would choose dancing.
Okay, so singing if you just have to sing along randomly, dancing if the dancing and singing talent is accompanied with it.
Yes. Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
that works for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll say, oh, this one's interesting. It's a technical question. Would you rather never be able to use a touchscreen or never be able to use a mouse and keyboard?
Because I've grown up through like the digital revolution, I would probably say never use a touch screen, because I can get by. Like I can get by with a keyboard and a mouse, and I'd be perfectly fine.
See, but you see, there's a flaw. You could also get a touchscreen keyboard to attach to your computer because they have those.
I could, but it's a tactile thing. Like I got to be able to feel the keys. I mean, I do it. I've done it on my iPad where I'm using the keyboard touchscreen, and it's fine. But then I feel like my fingers have like I have poor fine motor skills or something,
H-
because
How
I'm
would
like tripping over my own fingers when I do it.
how would you as a CGT professor be able to conduct your classes without ever having to touch a tablet or touch screen? Because that's included. Or
I feel
technically,
like I can make it work. I can do it. Like I feel like I
are
was
are Wacom tablets considered touchscreen? They
I
are.
would say yes.
Their interface, so that means you as a CGT professor could not use a Wacom to teach your classes.
Right.
That's
Which
that
I honestly, doing a lot of motion, doing a lot of like After Effects and doing a lot of video, I very seldom actually use the Wacom for my classes.
that is true. I would say that it would be a little more difficult to, not use the Wacom, say for Dan or Josh, but I forgot you're more
Right.
on the computer side. So okay. Me personally, I think I would go with the mouse and keyboard because of the loop on that. I could use a touch screen as a mouse and keyboard. However, I would miss the tactile feel of it. So I would say that concludes kind of our icebreaker round to get back into that. We can also come back to that
Yeah.
at the end and everything right there, because I want to break down into some of these interview questions. I had a lot of fun coming up with these. So, how you said you said you got here at IUPUI about 7 years ago when you were in the beginning?
Yep.
Okay. When did you, going back farther than that, what made you want to pursue the world of graphic design, technology, motion graphics? So kind of where did you start out? Where from now to here, where did you start out? What made you want to start out? And how did that make you end up here? So you can take a minute and think about
Yeah.
that.
So from the time I first touched a computer and did any sort of graphic design till September 23rd, 2020. Um, the thing I often tell people is I liked to this sounds bad. I like to make people cry. No, I love when I created something that I drew someone to emotion. So specifically, like, and I'll even go back as far as when I was like a kid. When I was in middle school, I was using like some rudimentary version of 3D animation software. I was using Adobe Premiere, and I was making videos that were about that big. And I really liked the ability to draw people and persuade people to an emotion. So yeah, I remember when I was a kid, like my first project was around the Holocaust, and I was doing just kind of weird, crazy things with technology and media that a lot of other students weren't. And so when I doing that stuff, and then even when I was in high school, I did client work, mostly graphic design.
Are you
Was
okay? Sorry, there's a little bit of unstable internet connection from your end, so you kind of glitched a little bit,
is
but
there? I
I can hear you
glitched.
now. We're good. We're good. Sorry, did not mean to
All right.
cut you
So
off. Please continue.
no, you're good. So so then when I was looking for colleges, I was looking at a couple of different things because when I was in high school, I was doing I was like editor for my newspaper. So I was doing page layout for them and a lot of design for them for that. And so I didn't know, was I going to go into like journalism? Was I going to look at broadcast journalism? Was I going to look at like just kind of a general media production program? Um, I looked at Ring School of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia, or in Sarasota, Florida. That's SCAT, Savannah. Yeah, and I found the program in Bowling Green, and I really liked the fact that you could learn. I could learn different mediums, but I was learning basically the theory behind each one of those and how those work. Uh, and I and so I went from there and I started going even into like live production stuff. And so I was creating media for like live productions and conferences. And then I went from there into marketing. So I was actually a rep for Apple for a while I was in college and into grad school. But I wasn't just like selling the stuff. I was like creating marketing pieces and materials and little animations just for use on my campus. And then I started to do work for a company full time in marketing. Um, and for a while, they had me, I just kind of like fell into each one of these things. For a while, I was their webmaster. And then they had me do package design. And then they had me shift to mostly photography and video production. And so again, I love being able to create and try different things out and figure out ways to solve problems. So it's like when my boss came to me and said, we need an app and we need it in 3 months. Like that was a stinking hard challenge, but I was able to kind of figure out how to do that with different tools. And so, yeah. And then what brought me here was obviously the teaching side of it. So I love to be able to teach and to work with other people to help them help them create things and inspire others to do things. So when I was in grad school, I was a TA. I really enjoyed teaching students. I really enjoyed the one-on-ones and working with them, and then ended up choosing that for my career. And I knew if I wanted to choose it for my career long term, I was going to really have to think about my choices with my time. So I knew I had to dedicate more time to teaching than probably working full time in marketing. I still do freelance because I want to be relevant, remain relevant with what I teach. So,
That actually leads into my next question. Following up
oh,
on
good.
that, do you prefer teaching or working in the industry? And you kind of already answered it, but kind of expand on that. What is it about teaching that appeals to you more than just working in the industry? And if you had if you were given a choice to where
Ooh,
you could only do one or the other, work in the industry like you were talking about, or
oof,
be a teacher, which one would you go with?
man, that's a tough one. Well, I'm going to say this. Um, why do I choose not just full time? Why do I choose to teach? Because I love working with students. I love the creativity of students. I love watching their talent continue to grow. I love helping a student, help steering a student in terms of like their career path and getting them to connected to different industries. When I was at Bowling Green, part of my role was to go out and meet students on internship experiences. And so I had an opportunity to go around the country and see all kinds of really cool things. So I had students go to MTV, ESPN, Nickelodeon, but then like not just the big places, like marketing firms, advertising and media production houses, TV stations. So I just saw all kinds of cool things, and I got to see students like come alive in those environments. So I loved it. If I had to choose, honestly, if I had no choice, choose between going full time teaching, full, not because I don't like teaching, because I wouldn't have enough to learn new things to then influence how I teach.
You're
Because if I'm, I know it's
you're
for some
you're
reason it's
little. I
unstable.
keep getting the internet connection is unstable a little bit. I'm so sorry. I
Yeah,
don't mean to.
no,
You
it's
were in a
fine.
really good flow right there. But just to confirm, were you picking teaching or industry? Because I did not catch that because of the
Yeah,
lag.
no, I was just saying that if I had to choose between one, I'd probably say industry just because, not because I don't like teaching, but because I want, if if I don't continue to remain relevant in the field by doing any type of work, then I don't have anything new to teach my students. I mean, I could, and honestly, there are teachers that do that. There are teachers that like don't, they rest on the experiences they've had years ago, and some do it very well. But our fields move so fast. Yeah, some of the principles and some of the theories remain the same, regardless of the editing platform you use. Editing's editing, regardless of the camera that you use. You know, shooting is shooting, and After Effects, while it's had a lot of changes in the motion design field over the years, keyframing is still the same, and the theories behind the principles that you use to create a motion graphic or whatever it might be is still the same. But if I'm not actively doing it, I feel like I've become irrelevant. So
That is a very great answer, and it brings me to remember. I remember the first day of college, in Jason Guy's class. All he did is he walked up and he just pulled up his portfolio, and just started talking about all the things he had done and how he had worked on Civilizations 5, I believe, how he had
yep,
worked with this, bringing up his work pieces. And I think that's very important in the technology field because, I think you ever seen the joke of like professors that go to college, they like someone goes to college to become a teacher in like
yep,
history or something, and then they immediately go into teaching right outside of college, and they never actually work in their field. And
right.
so I was like, and so I really appreciate that. That's a really great answer, especially on how in a technological field we're always changing, we're always growing and expanding, and it's smart to stay on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of in line with the technology degree, was there ever a moment where you seriously considered switching career paths? Ever a moment when you were just, when all the trials and tribulations of this career path, of this field, got to you and you were ever seriously considering, I can't do this, I need to do something else? Did you ever have a moment like that? And if so, would you care to
As a
talk about it?
teacher or as a practitioner
I,
and
I would say
designer,
I would say
like
probably as a practitioner, because I'd say you seem pretty set now in teaching and all that, but in your early years of kind of, out of high school going into college, in your early years of graphic design and technology, where did you ever have any serious moments of doubt?
I would say I don't know, I don't think I could say I ever had doubt. I would say that like I was always curious about trying something else. So like when I was working for Apple, I loved it. Like it was just fun to work for a company that was like that looked cool and it like had nice design. And this was back when like the iPods were the thing, like the iPhone had just come out, which like really dates me. But so I considered what would it look like to go work for them, because part of what I like to do was the live events. So we would do like host lots of like live events, and we'd bring stuff in, we'd show stuff off, and we do like the whole shebang. Um, so there was some, I considered that, I would say, at one time. But beyond that, no, I don't think I've ever really said, you know what, I'm not doing any of this. I want to go become an accountant. Like no one, I've never said that once in my life. Like I want to
I
go.
don't think anyone's ever said I want to go become an accountant.
There are people that have said they can become accountants. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
again, leading into my next question, if you could choose another degree
Ooh,
if you could choose a different career outside of what you currently do, outside of anything that you have done so far, so you can't just say I'd be a graphic designer for Apple because that's basically in the same line. So
shoot.
if you could pick a career completely outside of this bubble that we're in, what would you go with?
Culinary arts.
You had that ready to go.
I did. From the moment you asked the question, I was like, yeah, I would go be a chef, because that's the other thing I love to do. So I'm always things, cooking different stuff. Yeah.
So, but kind of in the same way, in that you're still creating something that,
Mm-hmm.
you're still creating something that can evoke emotion in people. So it's very interesting. So, talking about creating stuff for people and clients, do you have a worst client experience? Maybe not the worst, but do you have any bad client experiences? I know you were talking about one on class the other day with the PayPal, so you can't tell that one again since
I
we've already
can't.
heard it.
That's like my worst one.
Okay, you can tell it
That's like,
again in detail.
well, I mean, I can't say that I've had any clients. I can't say I've had any clients where I've looked at their like they've really been mad at like the work I've done or anything like that. I've been very fortunate that everyone I've ever worked for has been really good to work with the exception of this one incident. I mean, I've had people who I've quoted, and they've had very unrealistic expectations about cost, and things like that. But no, the one that was really bad was like basically I made some stupid moves on myself. So, and I shared this in class yesterday. So I had done a freelance job for a person who was quite wealthy, was a consultant, and wanted a documentary created about his family. And so I was commissioned to shoot the documentary. I rented the gear. I won't mention the location, but I went to the location. Beautiful home, lots of really nice fine art, commissioned artwork. They had lots of nice clothing, shoes, Prada, like you name the high end clothing line, which I don't know. I mean, yeah, they had a lot of nice stuff. Shot the documentary there, and then they actually asked me to do a shoot at the wedding anniversary party that they were hosting, which was at a really high end location. Did that, and then when I was done, I came back to my home and began to finish my final edit. The mistake I made was I went through a friend to actually to get the job, and so I trusted basically the whole situation in that, well, I hadn't gotten paid up front, so but I'll get paid, like it'll be fine. And so I stated that I was not going to release the final version of anything, including the drive, a physical drive, until I received payment, of which I was told, can we pay you through PayPal? And I said, okay. So that was my second mistake. So I did. I got paid through PayPal, thought everything was fine, released it, no problem. 3 months later, I got an email from PayPal that my account was in deficit multiple thousands of dollars, because what had happened was is they had paid me with a credit card that was not this guy's credit card. It was his business partner's credit card. And they had gotten into a dispute, and the business partner disputed every single transaction on the credit card. What happens in that situation is PayPal sides with the credit card holder. And so PayPal sided with the credit card holder. Dog letting himself in again. And I tried to combat that and dispute it. They wanted physical proof that the hard drive was handed over, but it was actually physically handed over. And so there wasn't like a FedEx receipt. And so it was just like it was a series of bad decisions, and also just poor luck, right? So at the end of the day, I was not paid for the job. So I will say this, I had a good trip. It was a good trip. So, but yeah, that was probably the worst. And this person has since gone on to, there's been, I would say this person who I was doing the work for has gotten some they've gotten into some legal trouble themselves financially. So to say that. So
I thought you were going to say they came back to you to ask for another project. And I was going to say, wow, that takes some
no,
guts.
no. So that was my, so.
So I know we've already kind of talked about this briefly, but just for the record, what is your official field specialization? Because you do a lot of different things in regards to not only what you've done in the industry, but also what you teach at IUPUI. So if you could kind of like narrow down, if you had to give yourself an official title, or if someone asked you, hey, what do you do? How would you kind of summarize your title, your experience in the most concise way possible?
Video producer,
Video
honestly.
producer.
That it always goes back to that for me. So honestly, that I've always said video is my first love. And so no, I mean my wife is, but uh, this is being recorded. I mean, I would say video is like of anything that I do, it is the thing I enjoy the most. And so yeah, that and probably specifically documentary type work. So, but with that said, yeah, it's branched out into other things, right? So probably like the secondary tier would be motion design because it informs my work, informs my, when I'm creating something or if I'm producing something, it's nice to be able to like create a lower third or create a logo build or create something else, create a montage, and to know how to use those tools to make that happen. So that's probably my second, and then my third is probably just because I've done it enough is just web design. So yeah, but that comes far. That's here and there. So I've taken a web job. So
Okay, yeah, I would say if I had to summarize, like whenever I refer, because there's four CGT professors, and you kind of stick them down. Like Dan's the illustrator, Josh is the Photoshop guy, Jason's the animation guy, and then you're the video guy. Breaking down into the four
yeah,
concentrations, that would be.
yeah,
Although Josh does delve into web design as well, so that's kind of where it overlaps and everything.
yeah. Well, and part of the confusion might come into is just because some of my PhD is actually in what's called instructional design. And so it's the ability to like develop coursework and develop like assignments and like actually teach a class effectively. So that's kind of like some of my advanced degrees. And so that's kind of why I've gone into some other areas, right? So because I'm helping. So it's like I've always said, like the themed attraction courses, Mark Dittmer, who I teach with, he's what I call the subject matter expert. So like he is the expert in themed attractions. I'm the instructional designer, so I am helping him to craft a class that's effective. Well, he is the expert. So
That's a very useful skill. You're giving me some ideas. In line with that, as you said, so you have your
yeah,
PhDs in instructional learning. What is your teaching philosophy? In both what you teach yourself, and then also how, like you said, you help Mark bring up with that. So kind of like, what is your teaching philosophy, and how does it spill over into the other classes that you assist
man,
with?
I didn't know you'd ask me such a deep question, Amethyst. Man, do I need to pull up my teaching philosophy? Yeah. Um, So probably just like I'll say this, not having it fully memorized, but the cornerstones of the way that I teach are experiential learning is a big part of it. Active learning is another one, and I'll explain what these are. Is another one. And I also I've taught workshops even in this area. It's called learner experience design, and so I'll talk about that too. So experiential learning is basically this idea of giving students opportunities to actually practice what they're engaging with in a safe area, in a place where it's like they can fail, they can like screw up, and they can try new things, and they'll be fine. Like so, so for example, my first semester here, my students and I shot a documentary for the actually it was for the Department of Corrections for the state, and so it was uh, kind of an industrial, they have an industrial wing. So we went into prisons. And so
Your wife's in the background cleaning up
my
Nerf
wife's back
guns.
there, like,
Cleaning
I
up
have,
Nerf guns.
forgot to mention I have 4. So they, so anyways,
I
so
will
I
say you
love the
are
effort.
lagging a little bit.
Am I?
Okay. I think,
Maybe
see,
I'll
every time I tell you you're lagging, it clears itself up. So I think we're good. But the gist of it, yes, you have
just keep saying it.
You have
Yeah.
4 boys, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So experiential learning. I love giving students opportunities to try things out. So I've had multiple projects where we've gone and done documentary shoots and promotional pieces for different companies with my students. And so that's really important to me. Active learning basically just means that I'm not just standing up in front lecturing the whole time. I mean, yeah, that's a part of it, but I like to engage you guys in conversation. I like you to look at articles. I like you to look at other videos, because at the end of the day, when you graduate, you're not just learning from us. Like, you're going to have to go figure out how to learn new things. And so I like to send you to the resources where you're going to learn those new things. And then what was the third thing? Oh, learner experience design. So basically, it's this idea of recognizing that, like, our students each learn different ways. And so I like to ask students quite often, like, what is going well for you in the class? What is not? What do you like about the class? What could change? Like, because you guys inspire me to be a better teacher. And so, that's why I often do one-on-ones with my students, because I'm asking these types of questions.
I
Not so
do
I can, like,
appreciate that. I always appreciate your surveys and one-on-one meetings.
I try to keep the surveys down. Students hate getting surveys, so.
Oh, I don't
But
mind them.
the one-on-ones, So, anyways, does that answer your question
That
at
does. I
all?
would say that does answer your question. So, kind of talking about teaching before we kind of break into other things, what words of encouragement or advice do you have for any freshmen watching this? They could be CGT, they could be CIT, or they could just be along for the ride. So, regardless of what their major is, if they're here, we're assuming they have at least some interest in what's going on. So, what
Yeah.
words of encouragement, advice, whatever would you have to any incoming freshman student interested in this kind of field of degrees?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to. I mean, this sounds like simple quips, but don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to fail and screw up. Continue to look for influencers. So, if you have certain videographers or artists or illustrators that you look up to, like, it's always a good idea to have people to look up to and see what they're doing. Recognize that when you're looking for internships or jobs, people are going to want to see not just a resume, they're going to want to see a portfolio. So start working on that early. And try, like, do things, just recognize that, like, employers are going to want to see more than just your coursework, like what you've done in classes. So if you have an opportunity to, like, take on a passion project or do an internship, do it. It will actually give you a leg up. So.
Kind of in line with that, if there are any viewers currently watching who have their own questions for Chris, something that may not have been covered, or just another question they were curious about, please feel free to drop those in the Twitch chat. And if I see those pop up, I will read those off closer towards the end. But yeah, so if any students have their own questions currently watching on the screen, drop it in the Twitch chat and we will read those off later. So kind of moving with that, so you talked a lot about your teaching and everything. So kind of like before we break down into, the lightning round questions, which are kind of like the icebreaker questions, what would you say is one of your proudest professional achievements? Could be in teaching, it could be in the industry. But if you have a project you worked on, something you created, what is your crown jewel in everything that you have done in your industry?
That's a hard one.
It doesn't even have to be the top one. It could be one of the top ones or whatever, but something you're very proud of that you've created.
So I would say there's probably two things, if that's okay, that
Two's
I.
fine.
So the one on it, honestly, is getting my PhD. Just because unless you've gone through it, you have no clue the frustration that um,
You're frozen a little bit.
am I?
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're good now.
I don't know what's going on. No, I was just going to say, so getting my PhD, because unless you've gone through it, you don't know the frustrations and everything else that actually goes into it. So it's not an easy thing to do. And so, yeah, I would say that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. The other thing too that I don't talk about too much is for a number of years I was the technical director for a regional conference actually out of here in Indianapolis. It was with a non-for-profit. It was actually a Christian organization, and I loved doing that job just because I saw all of these different fields come together. So I had a staff of about 80 people. And so I had a video production team of about seven individuals. We hired out audio vendors, we hired out a lighting designer. And so it was just fun to like coordinate all of that and bring all of that together. And so that was probably like if I had an opus, right? Like that's kind of the term that people often say is an opus. And so I would say that was probably the opus, to be able to see all of that come together for multiple thousand people. So yeah, that's probably the two big things.
That's really cool, honestly. And I kind of I understand where you're coming from on the PhD. My sister went for a master's in history, and even then that was so much on her. So I couldn't imagine what a PhD would be on top of that.
Well, and it's not really a media thing, right? You're not actually creating something, but my focus was in like media and creative with technology in curriculum. So I tried to really tailor it to my passions and what I like to do. I was able to make it work, but yeah, there was one or two times where I wanted to give up. So yeah.
So we have a question coming in from Ryan on the Twitch chat, and it says, "What is the most amount of hours you have lost from either a lost or corrupted save file?" If you ever have an experience of that.
Well, I actually had one semi about 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So down below this desk right here is a 24 terabyte RAID drive. And so about 18 terabytes of it are filled, and it's all for one client. It's all video, and so basically, I had pretty much everything backed up. I also do uh, I use a backup service called Backblaze as well. So, but I had a situation where one of the four, if you're not familiar with a RAID drive, it's basically you have multiple hard drives in one case, but the computer sees it as either one hard drive or two hard drives, and there's supposed to be some redundancy. So what happens is it backs one to the other. And so what happened is the one of the drives went down, and I contacted the manufacturer, and they're like, "Oh, well, you do this, you pull this one drive out, and then you're going to put it back in." Well, I did that, and it corrupted the whole RAID. And so that took hours to try to rebuild. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
that's actually, yeah, that's the only time I've actually ever had a RAID drive fail, or any drive actually. So thankfully, I've never had a computer go down. Knock on wood. It's probably going to happen tomorrow. Now that I've said that,
I was about to say, I was like, the internet gods are already coming for you. I think
I
now the
know it's
the hard drive gods are
I'm totally
descending.
screwed. Yeah. So
Okay, so that kind of does lead into projects and stuff. A project that you were working on. Are there any current projects or research opportunities that you are either looking for or working on, because you are a professor, you are a teacher, but you said you also work freelance as well. For example, Dan and Jason are working on their VR film. Outside of that, is there anything that you are currently working on
Yep.
right
Yeah.
now that you would?
Yeah. So, yeah. No, I've been going on. The boring stuff, I'm just doing, I just,
You froze again.
are you actually, you froze this time?
Maybe it's been me all along.
I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't know. I think
Um,
I think we're good now. Every time, okay, see, it's a trick. Every time we
we're good.
say you
Just so we're good.
froze, it unfreezes. So we're good.
Yeah.
Now please continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I was saying is the boring thing is my freelance right now. I did a live webinar shoot in Washington, D.C. last weekend. That was fine, but it's nothing too exciting, really, in terms of its creativity. Um, maybe for physical therapists, it's exciting for them, but yeah, not for really for us. Um, I'm also working on a couple of projects through my job at the university. One I've been working on for a number of years is a mobile application that supports students when they're out in different types of field experiences. So I've done some interface design with that, and I've had students do testing on that a couple of times now. So that's one project. I'm working with another faculty member, or at least starting to work with another faculty member who wants a VR environment developed for teaching nanotechnology. And so we're just now starting that. I also started another project where we're going to be developing kind of like a virtual simulation where we're going to help high school students, I would say, have better communication skills, specifically in this online environment that we have. And so, so yeah, those are a couple of my projects through the university. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I'm really working? No, that's really it. That's like the big things right now. So
That's pretty great, especially in currently that is a very useful uh, tactic coming up with right now, and especially when it comes to virtual learning. So
yeah,
keep at it. So we
thanks.
have about 15 to 17 minutes left. And so, kind of like with the last bit, I'm going to go ahead and break into the lightning round, which, again, much like the icebreaker, are more fun based thinking questions. And to start that off, if you were an animal, what animal would you be? Now, not the animal you would want to be, but think about yourself and think about realistically, if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Man, it's a hard one. Um, I don't know why I'm having a hard time with this. I would probably say a dog. I don't know why. I don't know why, because he's laying right there. Um, I don't know. I just love the flexibility that he has. Obviously, whenever he wants to go on a walk, like he just can't go do it. But um, yeah, I mean, I think that they live a pretty low key and easy life. Um, my growing up, I had a dog that like we would literally let the dog out in the morning and the dog would go run around in like the 120 acre woods behind us and then come back at night. Like that seemed pretty awesome. So I could say generally a dog, but I don't know what type of environment that I'd be brought up in. So
I was
if
about
I
to
had to
say,
choose that,
you're assuming that you got adopted by a nice family that would love you and give you a
yeah, that's the thing.
backyard.
Yeah, that's true.
Josh also said he would be a dog in his interview. But he
Okay.
specifically stated golden retriever. So, if you were a dog, what dog would you be?
Ooh, I would have to go with Husky or German Shepherd.
I actually was
Big.
thinking husky. It was a toss up between a husky or an American bulldog. I don't know. You seemed like an American bulldog. It
Uh,
just fit.
okay, that works. I'll take that.
Huskies are very great dogs, though. I was like, they're very
Yeah,
entertaining and energetic.
yeah.
So what else do we got here? So, if you won the lottery, what would you do with that money? Buy camera equipment.
Yep. No, I definitely buy camera equipment. I'd buy I would buy a nice big loft for a studio space.
Oh, that would be
Um
nice.
I would travel. I would pay off my house. I would pay for my kids' college career, and I would probably use it to help some other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, some other questions. Would you rather go back to the age of 5 with everything you know now? Like, if you were given that opportunity to
Yeah.
just do life over again with
hmm
everything you know now,
hmm
would you do it?
I actually was thinking about this the other day, to be honest with you. No, I don't think I would.
Why is
Yeah,
that?
I really don't. I mean, yeah, I mean, with everything I know now, going back and kind of like starting over, like, I could better direct my path, but I would also then be trying to like force certain things, right? So I would be like trying to like force the family that I have now. Like I would have like because I'm very content in terms of my current life. I feel like I'm very blessed with what I have. And so um yeah, I wouldn't want to jeopardize that.
See, that right
But
there actually would be like that sounds like a premise to, like a Black Mirror episode or something. Guy goes back in time to do everything
yeah,
over, but then is like he goes back in time, right? And then he meets his wife, but then he comes off way too strong on his wife and creeps him out, and so then she ends up,
there you
not
go.
dating
Yeah.
him, and then he's actually doing everything wrong. I
Yep.
also don't think if I went back at 5 years old with the knowledge I had now, I feel like, because you see, the flaw in that question is, are you an emotionally mature 5 year old, or are you a 5 year old now with just all this vast knowledge? I don't think a 5 year old brain could comprehend that.
Nope. You wouldn't know what to do with it.
That's
You
like
really
that.
wouldn't.
That's like going back and that's like going back and like that's like giving a caveman an iPhone or something like that, or just telling him like a caveman is suddenly aware that technology exists. How do you comprehend and go with that? So yeah, I don't think I would go back in time either, because I don't want to live any of that over again.
Right. Yeah.
But that is a good point on how trying to force things to happen might actually do the opposite, and then you end up
Yeah.
worse off than before.
Yeah. You could really come off as a creeper because you're like, oh, we're supposed to get married. We're supposed to have 4 kids. Like,
That
you don't want to
does
do
that
that.
ha that actually no that happens in It's a Wonderful Life. Different premise, but remember he runs into his wife when he had never been born, and
Yes.
he's
That's
telling
right.
her, and he's like, "We have kids, we're married," and she's like
That's right.
freaking out.
I
There's
know.
See, I pay attention in your classes. You've been talking
That's
about It's a
right.
Wonderful Life.
Yes. We talked about it yesterday.
So we have another would you rather. Would you rather have all traffic lights you approach be green, or never have to stand in line again? So basically, would you rather never hit a red light again, or never have to stand in line for anything again?
Probably never stand in line for anything again. Here's why. I can deal with green. I can deal with red lights. I'm fine with it now. I feel like honestly, sitting at a red light. I don't always feel this way, but sometimes when I set a red light, it's cathartic because like it allows me to slow down and relax. But if you know me, my family and I were Disney, we're theme park enthusiasts personally,
I knew you were going to
and
bring up
so
Disney.
yeah, so I mean, or okay, I'll say Universal. Like I don't want to go stand in the line. If I don't have to go stand in a line and I can just go on all the rides, there
You
you
also
go.
don't want to buy fast passes for 4 kids.
You don't want to buy fast passes for 4 kids. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up going to Cedar Point, right? And I loved the roller coasters at Cedar Point, but you'd wait 4.5 hours to ride the newest coaster. So yeah, if I can avoid that,
Yeah, I would go with the never stand in line again, because the red light thing, it sounds nice, but that would only like when would be a time where you wouldn't want to hit red lights? Well, if you're in a hurry or something like that. So it would be
right?
useful only in very specific scenarios, whereas standing in line, that is useful for everything. I mean, I'm thinking about like if you had to go to the what the BM the drivers what's it called, the BMV, I think, where you go to get your license and all
Yep,
that, because that
yep.
always takes forever. I remember I had to stay there for like 2 hours just to get my permit. So I was like, I think that actually works out. You chose correctly, even though there was no right or wrong answers.
Thanks. Yeah.
So here's a big brain question. If you were stranded on an island with only 5 items, what items would they be? And no, one of the items cannot be a boat to transport you off the island, or a helicopter, or anything to get you off the island. You're stranded on this
Okay.
island. What do you take to survive? 5 items.
Survive. Okay. Here's the question. Well, I'm ask the question. Like, so for like a bar of soap, like, is it a never-ending supply, or is it just one bar? You know, I don't know. I'm thinking out loud.
Enough. Let's say, okay, you're stranded on an island. Let's say, I don't know, you have to survive for at least 2 weeks, 2 to 3
2
weeks.
weeks. Okay, there you go. So I would say a knife. That, I mean, sounds cliche, but like, I'm gonna need to be able to kill something.
I would say
So
machete.
yeah, machete, or I honestly I go for a gun.
But see, now
You
the
know,
gun, but now
so
the gun and the bullets are 2 items, separate.
oh come on, can't the gun just be loaded?
Okay, it's loaded, but you only have 6 bullets. You have 6 bullets in there. Any
All
extra
right.
bullets
Okay,
out?
I'll go for the knife then. You know, so yeah, I'll go for a knife. I will go for probably some books. Don't ask me what books, because I'd have to think about that for a while. Yeah, to give me some entertainment. So now I've got my food, I've got some entertainment. I would ask for a tent. I would say probably a tent, or something like. Honestly, I would go for a tent, or a chainsaw. Like, if I could create something that's like a more stable structure than a tent, I would. Just so I can actually build something. So
Sew some
that's
leaves together and make a little hut. I mean, it's
yeah.
only
I
2
don't.
to 3 weeks. It's 2
Yeah,
to 3 weeks. It's
it's
just assuming that wouldn't be
is it
too bad.
hurricane season? I don't know. So that's
They never give you the specifics with these
they
questions,
don't
just on that. Yeah,
they
see,
don't.
I would
Yeah,
definitely say, yeah, I would definitely say machete, rope, a
rope's good. I'll go
lighter,
for it.
like a pair of, what are they? A pair of flint rocks to be able to start fires,
Yep.
a blanket, like a very weather resistant blanket, and then a
Yeah.
box of MREs. That's cheating, though. I can't say. I just get stuck with a single MRE. That I can't think of anything else, so just for that. So that way, if I realize I'm gonna die, that'll be my last semi-normal meal.
Right. Yeah, that'll work.
All right, we're coming up on the close of our interview. Someone just joined the chat. No, we were talking about survival supplies. And again, if you're in the chat, you have any last minute comments or questions, I will happily read those off to Chris and all that. But is there anything else you would like to say? Anything that wasn't brought up, wasn't covered? If you want to give again advice to students, anything, words of wisdom from Chris, just as a closing statement.
Words of wisdom. Yeah, I feel like I already gave. I really gave some nuggets for specifically for freshmen. But I
What
would,
about our seniors now? You gave advice to freshmen. What about
yeah, I
advice
would
to
say
our
this. So
seniors?
honestly, for your seniors, like, I would say, um, at this point as a senior, really begin to think about I would say this, don't think about like, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Because you're not going to figure that out. Like, I would say, what do you want to do for the next 5 years, honestly? And begin to think about, yeah, what do I need to do to like put myself in that position? And so if you're like, I want to be, I want to just I want to be a game designer, or I want to be I want to work in post-production at MTV. All right. So what can you do to get there, to like build your portfolio? Is there any internships that you can even go for post graduation that can help get you there? So and play with stuff. Like don't just do, like I said, don't just do your coursework. Like start thinking about passion projects and things that you can do on your own. So yeah, that's probably the best advice I can give.
I was just sneaking my own advice. I was just sneakily. I'm not a senior, but a sneakily like, yeah, I'll take that advice now. One last question from the chat from student Jay. He asks, "Does Chris miss me?"
Which Jay is it? That bugged me.
It's the username
Sure, I do.
is Jason King Tater Tot. That's the name.
When did I have the student? Like,
It's
is this?
Fernandez, Jason Fernandez.
Oh no, I don't. I'm kidding.
Apparently, just from
I'm
that, you already forgot about him.
I'm kidding. No, I enjoyed having Jason in class, and that's Jason's a great example of someone who like, hey, you started doing that work on your own as a motion designer, and just started building your portfolio because he didn't. I don't think he took many motion design courses. We were still developing the concentration at the time, so he just kind of went off his own. And the other thing too is he got connected with Brandon, who's one of our industrial advisory board members, and took a lot of advice from him. So he's a good example of someone who like took the bull by the horns. So good to hear from you, Jason.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. Thank you for agreeing to be part of our Spirit Week faculty interviews.
Yeah.
I think, especially for any new students watching, maybe this will convince them to switch over to CGT.
Oh yeah.
But
You
no,
guys all need
not
to come
exactly.
over. It's a lot more fun over here.
We're not here to create division between CIT and CGT. This is
Oh,
CIDP
I'm
Spirit.
talking about anybody outside of the programs.
But thank you
Yeah.
so much for
All right.
those. Thank you so much for those who tuned in with us. Come back to this stream at 6 p.m., where another student, we will be interviewing Amber Tansey, who is a senior UX designer at PlayStation. You won't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. Between now and then, you can go over to the CIT stream and check out their faculty interview at 4 p.m. with Professor Sally Caitlin. And then after all of that, come back at 8 for games. If you are looking for this schedule, it is posted on our Instagram as well as the Discord if you are a CIGT student in there. So be sure to check it out, and we will see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining in.
See you guys.